Hi, Lauren.
Hi, how are you, Megan?
I'm doing great. For those of you who are just joining us here on the YouTube channel, you have found yourself on the Pointing It Out podcast here on YouTube. And together with my friend, Melissa McLeod, I am Megan Holmes, and I am here in St. Louis, Missouri at my shop, at my needlepoint shop, right outside of St. Louis called in Kirkwood, a suburban St. Louis community. And my friend Melissa McLeod has her shop just outside of Detroit in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And she and I together have been doing this thing we call a video podcast, and it's all about needlepoint. So today I am really excited to have a new friend, Lauren Bloch. And Lauren owns, I just confirmed that she's also did in fact name the business after herself.
I couldn't come up with anything more creative.
Yeah. So she has Lauren Bloch Designs. And so welcome, Lauren. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. I must say, I am completely honored to be invited. So thank you for reaching out to me. And I really love these podcasts. I think it's so special that you're doing this for the needlepoint community.
Well, thanks. We are also, believe it or not, having a lot of fun doing it because we get to talk to really great people like you. So what I just asked you, if it was okay if I said, is that you are a rather new, we would call you, designer on the scene in the needlepoint industry. And I say new, but I only just say new because I know that you've kind of just freshly come into my periphery. But tell us, when exactly did you start your business? Did you say just last year?
Yes. So I started in the middle of the pandemic. So
why not, right?
my kids are in college now. I've got a senior who's at George Washington. I've got a sophomore who's at the Ohio State University. And, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I had done some custom work for my local needlepoint store where I actually worked for 9 years as well. Okay. And had just left them a few months before to spend more time with my son, who was a senior in high school, and maybe to be able to travel with my husband, who, he goes all over the place for his job. And then the pandemic happened. So I got to spend an awful lot of time with my senior, who really didn't want to spend much time at all with his parents. And then with the pandemic, we were all together as a family in our family room. I remember this so clearly, and just chatting about, good grief, what is all this? Yeah. And I don't know how it came up, but we started to talk about nursery rhymes and this little piggy. And
that's your design. Why did I forget about that? Okay, hold on. Before we go there, hold on one second. So first tell me, you're in your living room right now. And yes. You told me before we started that your local needlepoint shop is Beehive, right?
Correct.
So that is just outside of Pittsburgh or in Pittsburgh?
So they are in the south of Pittsburgh, so in South Hills, and they are 5 minutes from my house. I can walk there in about 12 minutes.
So I was wondering, I was sure that people would be thinking, who's her local needlepoint shop? Where did she used to work? Did I ever meet her? So Beehive is your local needlepoint shop.
Yes.
Just south of Pittsburgh. And so that's where you're at right now, right? So is it this very living room that you're having this conversation in?
Yeah, right here.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. So keep going. So I'm so sorry that just popped into my head that this was your design. So go ahead.
So my daughter and I were talking about it, and and I said, wait, this little piggy stayed home. I should come up with a little design of a pig with a mask. And, and do that for myself, for my own tree, and just to remember this pandemic.
Yes.
And So I did that and I put it on Needlepoint Nation, the Facebook group, that
Oh
has
boy.
like 15,000
And
followers.
open the floodgates.
And
They
it
did,
did.
huh?
It did. People were like, who did this? Where'd you get it? And so that threw me immediately into, maybe I should start a business. And since I'd
Wow.
done a lot of custom work for my store, this was a pretty easy transition and coming up
So
with my own designs.
So by the way, I'm sorry. So I am sitting here at my shop and it's busy and so I apologize to anyone for the distraction of the phone ringing, et cetera, but that's just life. So, um, so you had done custom work for them. So in other words, like someone says, I want a custom belt or my wedding monogram but you had never really created your own designs, or had you created your own designs for yourself, but just never really put them out there?
Never created my own
Okay.
designs.
Okay.
And the custom work that I had done for the Beehive, I need to give one of the owners, Jessica O'Brien, a big pat on the back, because she was usually the one who designed the image that I translated to canvas for the customer.
So she said, I have this idea. Here's generally what I'm thinking, but I want you to paint this for us.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And, and I did probably over like 500 custom pieces for their clients and their stitchers.
Wow. Wow.
And met some great people throughout the process. Obviously.
Well, and I want to get back to the piggy. I don't want to forget that thought. But one thing we will say, so meeting great people, when I hear you say Beehive, the first person that jumps into my head is Rachel Donnelly.
Yes.
She's been a guest of the podcast and also is a good friend of our shop and a lot of people. So you have gotten to know Rachel through the shop?
Absolutely. She would come in with her designs.
Okay.
She would choose fibers. And she's become, my friend and definitely my mentor. I can't say enough about Rachel. She is so giving of her time, her knowledge, her expertise. I couldn't have done this without her.
Yeah, she's a great gal. So
she really is. And I love her designs too.
Well, true. And I think that we've said this before on the podcast. I'll just reiterate it again. This really is an industry full of people who are willing to reach out their hand and say, what can I do to help you? Pick up the phone, etc. It's so nice to hear. We say it all the time, but it's very nice to hear real life instances where that's happening. So
definitely.
So so you say, this pig is really, I've got this idea, and the pig, for all of you who haven't seen it, is darling. So 100 million people say to you, I want this design. And you think to yourself, oh man, now what am I going to do? Is that
pretty much what happened? Yes. So fortunately, because of my relationship with the Beehive, I knew about a painting studio that I could turn to who could help create a lot of pigs, a whole farm of pigs. So, but I really love that other people came up with the idea. They said, well, how about this little piggy went to market?
Oh my gosh.
They're the ones that came up with all the sayings. And so I have 5 in the series.
So the pig stayed home with the mask on. And then the pig that went to market, is he the one that has toilet paper?
Yes, toilet paper and little and bread, which was bread so necessary. And then it's some spilled milk, all the things that we ran out of during the pandemic.
So I've got, my kids are getting too old. I've been doing the pigs. So the pig stayed home. The pig went to market. This little piggy had roast beef.
Roast beef, and then the pig also has roast beef and wine.
Okay. And then this little piggy had none. Is he just a cute
none? But needlepoint. And so the little pig is on his tummy and he's needle pointing like a canvas of himself.
Right.
Or herself.
Sure. I've seen these. I have to say the one that really stands out, the finished piece that really stands out in your mind, I'm sure you've seen, is the one that's all attached together like an accordion.
Oh my goodness. That
cool?
finishing is incredible. And in fact, I have not stitched these canvases yet since
you haven't had time.
I haven't had time. But when I do, that's exactly the way I want.
And I need to give a shout out to the finisher. I think it's Unchiffon Fan.
Yes. Exactly.
Instagram, but I don't know her name, unfortunately. I wish I did, but the point is the finishing was darling. But back to the canvas inspiration. So you're sitting there, you come up with the pig, other people give you. So then, so you say, hey, this is really fun. I like these people. I've got more ideas. Or so how do you decide to kind of keep going?
That's pretty much what happened. My business right now is two-pronged. So I still do custom work. And I think what I found is that when I was working at the Beehive, I loved working with the customer.
Sure.
There's that one-on-one connection. You're choosing fibers, you're helping with finishing. I've made a lot of friends through the Beehive that I still stay in touch with now. So I like the custom work because I'm able to work directly with people, taking their idea, their love, their passion, whatever it is, and putting it on canvas. And it's a one of a kind.
Right.
And then the other side is, of course, the design line that I sell wholesale to shop owners like
yes,
you.
and I will say thank you very much for that. We really appreciate those of you who have jumped their pinky toe, then diving headfirst and really deciding to support the local needlepoint shops by doing 100% wholesale. So we really appreciate that. So thank you.
And I started off selling both and then realized, okay, this isn't for me. Having worked in a retail store, like you said, I realized the importance of the brick and mortar.
And I will say there is room for everyone in the industry, and we try to be very open-minded about it. But it is important for us as shop owners to thank those of you who are going all wholesale, because it really is the backbone of our business. So I don't want to sit on that because that can become a soapbox. But but anyway, thank you. So the next thing I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the next design that I really remember is the Choose Happy. Is that really kind of the next design in your line? Is that fair?
Boy, it's really hard to remember. There might have been a few others in between there, but
sure.
That was sort of the next big seller.
So I remember my friend Melissa, who I do the obviously, saying, I just saw this design and it just made me so happy. I think I'm going to do a stitch along. And I was like, okay. And I'm rather new in the needlepoint industry, comparably, and also in a pandemic. And I'm like, you're going to do a what? Like, how does this happen? And meanwhile, she ends up getting a bajillion people.
Yeah. I think there were probably at least 50 who were like on the Zoom call. I think others signed up to take, to do the stitch along, and of course got the canvas and the stitch guide.
So it's a brilliant design. Melissa is a beautiful stitch guide writer, a great teacher, and a great creative. But I also think that one of the selling points of the canvas and of the community of it was the story really behind the canvas and the design. And so can you talk me through some of that, would you?
Sure. So that is part of my GUB series, or GUB, G-U-B. And that actually, let me tell the story first. So sure. My neighbor creates handmade cards.
Okay.
And twice a year, she has a card party at her home.
Okay.
And she sells these cards to raise money. And the reason she started creating these cards is because in 2005, she lost her daughter to brain cancer. Her daughter, Liz, was at Wash U and
pursuing, here in St. Louis,
in your neck of the woods,
and
pursuing her postgraduate degree in architecture.
Okay.
And so as this was therapy for Veronica, this was her creative outlet. This was she could do to help others and to focus on others. And I love that she's doing this. So all of the proceeds of her cards go to a scholarship fund in Liz's name.
Her daughter's name. Okay.
And the scholarship fund gives funds to rising seniors at WashU who are going to graduate in architecture.
Cool.
So I approached her. Looking at her cards, there's this, she has the ability to put together patterns, colors, wording. And I always thought, boy, I love these cards so much. I really think they would translate nicely to needlepoint canvas.
Okay.
And approached her and she said, yes, let's do this. So of course, a portion of the proceeds of these canvases also goes to the scholarship fund. And now I think what's really neat is that Veronica has raised about $56,000 for the scholarship fund over, 15 years or so that she's been making these cards.
Wow.
And everyone who has purchased a canvas, that money I've raised about, I don't want to say we have raised about $850.
That's amazing. I don't know if people know this about me, but I probably have said it at some point. I spent 15 years as a professional fundraiser in higher education before I jumped into the needlepoint world. And part of that time was spent at Washington University, which is a wonderful place. But, it's not a cheap date. So it's really special that there is a scholarship, particularly for a student who is further along in their career, to help them with some of the expenses. So, there's a lot of charity out there. There's a lot of good things going on, but I think this is extra special because it's very meaningful to you, to her, and to another student, and for students to come. So I, admire you all for supporting that. It's a lot. And, $56,000 is a lot. $850 is still something. And that's really
Right.
So
I'm really excited.
Keep up the good work. Yeah, that's really good. Really good.
And just to let you know what GUB.
Oh yeah. GUB, I wrote it down.
So that is the name of Liz's stuffed animal growing up.
Oh.
It was a stuffed ladybug, which of course is,
she said GUB when she was little.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
awesome.
special.
Yes.
And so on the back of ladybug.
Yeah, well, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, we need GUB. We need the mascot GUB to stitch.
Yes, we do. We do.
We'll do that. We'll talk about that later. But but aside from the ladybug that I've now added to the line, you've got inspiration from, I'm going to say it wrong, Veronica's artwork for several other canvases. So it's Choose Happy. I actually think I have on my wall. I should have grabbed them. I have Choose Love and Choose Kindness or Kind, maybe?
Kind. So I've got them all here.
Oh, course. Good. Yay. Let's look at them.
So this one, can you see that okay?
It's awesome. It's perfect.
All right. And then, of course, going with that, I just decided, well, let's do Choose Love while we're at it.
Love that.
And then each, there's a little heart in the background here.
Love it.
And then this is Choose Kind. So they're simple, but so that they really do lend themselves to stitches if that is something that you love to do.
Well, and just to give Melissa a little shout out. So these are on 13 count mesh.
They are
8 by 10. Is that
9 by 7?
Okay, close.
Yeah.
I wasn't too far.
That was good.
Yeah, well, but anyway, and so what she did was kind of create different types of stitches and different types of thread to use. So there really could be a great, what I would call like beyond basket weave piece for a person who, has mastered basket weave, wants to move on and try to start doing some stitches. There's enough larger space and enough different colors and ways that you could kind of try out with different threads and things. And I know that Melissa has that stitch guide available. So you're welcome, Melissa, for selling your stitch. So are those the only 3 pieces that are part of the GUB series?
No, there are 11 pieces right now. One of my biggest sellers is this.
That's part of her thing too. Yes. That is so stinking cute.
So this is the little Christmas delivery truck. And I created this with the feeling that it could be a pillow or even a card box. Like a Christmas card box.
Yes.
So I really love the plaid, and then I decided to go ahead and add the border. And
so this is a card that is she a graphic artist? Is she drawing these things, or where do her
sometimes she'll do some of her own sketches, but she's also taking, it might be, a sticker or some sort of something she's cut out from a magazine or she's putting it together.
Oh, how fun.
She does some really cute cards that have
collage work,
actual tea bags on them,
Got
it. So they're really all different. And it might just, I might take a little bit of one of her cards and put it together with another card, which is what happened with the Choose Happy. I took the background of one card, the wording Choose Happy of another card, and put the two together.
Got you. So that Christmas delivery truck is darling. I think we had that maybe at one point. If not, I need to order it because it's really cute.
Thank you.
So the delivery truck, and then is there any others right there that you want to? Do you have?
I don't have any.
Those are the best. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're all sort of bagged up. Sorry.
No problem. No worries. No, I'm putting you on the spot.
I have one, the coffee one. Keep calm and coffee on.
Oh, I have that here too. Darling, with the chevron background. Yes.
Yes.
And frankly, that pairs very nicely with the Rachel Donnelly coffee cup series.
I loved it. I saw it on your Monday morning musings. I'm like, wait, my canvas is right there.
It is there, front and center. We love it. We love it. So you've a couple of things that I haven't teased out yet. So you are the pigs came, the Gub series came, which is awesome. And so I think, and again, this is me on the fly because I think so. Correct me when I'm wrong. So is your first real artist that you've begun to represent and license work and translate direct art, I guess I would say, is just what you've just launched, which is, or you're about to launch, or you're
that is
the secret code of silence that
not at all.
Nobody else does. I hope
not. Dave Klug is a local illustrator and artist here in Pittsburgh. And so this was a number of years ago, I was sitting at my vet's office with my two cats and looked around the wall and saw this great artwork all over the wall. And, so I picked up his card and I thought, boy, this would look awesome on canvas. It's bold and whimsical. He uses great colors and graphic designs. And I loved it. And it made me smile. Sure. And so I approached him. It turns out his daughter and my daughter are both the same age.
Oh, how funny.
They went to high school together and know each other. And so I reached out to Dave this past year, and I actually went ahead and took one of his pieces of art and put it on canvas because I wanted to show him what it would look like.
Sure.
To take his art and
you need to make sure. I mean, I've talked to some other people who have translated art before. You need to make sure that they're comfortable with the way their art looks when it's translated to needlepoint, because it's not always identical. It's very hard to translate. So yeah, absolutely. So yes, I want to see. Can I see?
And he was not familiar with needlepoint. So I sort of had to explain like what needlepoint was all about, which was fun.
Sure.
So this was the canvas, and I just have this on a little foam board here because the canvas is actually here. There we go. The canvas is actually at the painting studio. Mm-hmm. And so this is a dog with wings. And Dave does a lot of sympathy cards for vet offices. So to me, it has a little bit of a folk artsy feel.
Yes.
So I feel like you could do it for anything, but it also symbolize an animal that has, a dog that's passed away. And I've left enough space up here that you could add a name or, a date down
the year or something. Is that about a 5x7?
So this, I think, is No, I think it's a little, maybe, well, no, you're pretty close. I think it's like 5.5 by 7.5.
Okay. Okay. And is that one on 13 or
And
18?
this one, so this is 13. So it comes in 18 or 13 mesh.
Great. So
And
the
then
18 will be a little
course,
smaller. Yeah.
yes. And
Okay.
then
Oh,
it
and there's a
comes,
kitty.
and the cat comes
Oh,
too.
that's
Yeah, I'm
sweet.
doing that. Can you see that? Okay.
I absolutely can. It looks great. I love that.
So,
Nice.
so those,
So-
like, again, the border was not in his artwork. He did a different
Gotcha.
type of border that
Mhm.
I just couldn't translate
Uh-huh.
to needlepoint. And so I review all of his canvases. I send them to him. I'm like, Dave, are you okay with this?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I love, I was speaking to him recently and just trying to find out a little bit about him. And he said that for him, his art, he really tries to simplify his art. And the reason he got into animals is he wanted to get sort of a positive feeling from people. He wanted to bring a smile to their face, and people really gravitated to their pets. And so and he has 2 dogs that feature in a lot of his art. So
You've got to keep going here because I'm
okay.
seeing this great guy with this hat on, but okay, keep going.
So these are 2 more. This is the love dog.
Oh, and he kind of
And
looks like
a
my
little
Ruffy. I love
peace
it.
cat.
Oh, that's
And
hilarious.
these are more ornament size. I think these are like, I don't know, 3.5 by 5 or something.
That's perfect.
This little guy, so I actually put him, he fits perfectly into like
the Betsy box.
box.
Oh,
So
look at that.
So this is this canvas, and that's the buffalo plaid dog.
What a riot.
And again, the background may not be exactly like Dave's art, but this is what I came up with to sort of say his background.
Absolutely.
I just love that little.
Oh, what's that hat called? It has a name. What is it?
I can't remember.
It's like an Elmer Fudd.
It
has a name. Shoot.
I know. I'm blanking too.
Well, it's darling, and the buffalo plaid is awesome.
And then this is his
look
called Mostly Blue Dog.
Oh.
And then and this is 13 mesh, and then Mostly Yellow Kitty is the name of that one.
Oh, stop. These are so darling.
So they're really,
eye.
Again, because of the simplicity of his art, you could stitch this basket weave if you wanted to, but if you wanted to add some stitches, you could, some decorative stitches. So I really, it's been a lot of fun, taking his art. I mean, truly, I sit at my painting table and I'm smiling because I'm like, oh, this is just turning out so cute. I can't wait until I can stitch it.
That's awesome. So his hope for his art is coming true for you, at least. He's putting a smile on your face. And so now you're
absolutely.
Wow, that's great. So, okay, show the one last one over there.
So this one, I absolutely love this one. So this one is it's a parody of the 1930 Grant Wood painting. And it's of a Midwestern, it's supposed to be father and daughter. I think a lot of people think it's the wife, but in fact, this figure is supposed to be the daughter. And it just, I love it. This is an 8 by 10 on 13 mesh.
That's right.
And so, I think it would be a fun pillow. I think it would be great for a wall hanging. I mean, everyone needs this in their house, don't they?
That's a riot. Oh my gosh. So now
if you can't afford the real thing, then go for the next best thing.
I love that. Now, is his body of work such that you have kind of a lot of ideas ahead of you as far as like what
he has so much to pull from? And the same with Veronica. I will go into, so what she'll do before her card parties is invite me over and I'll go and just take pictures of cards.
Okay.
And so, and she has hundreds. So if I wanted to just paint every single day something of either of these 2 people, I could do that.
Right. Right.
So a lot of inspiration.
Well, and I've talked to several different designers now who talk about the bodies of work being so vast and they just can't get it on canvas fast enough.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's taking away at all from your own creative juice of your own designs, or are you really kind of getting into this translation of other artwork?
So no,
I'm sorry,
no,
that was
I try to, sometimes what I'll do, like for example, with Dave's things, I knew I wanted to get some more canvases out there. I
sure.
just sort of wanted to launch the line.
Yes, yes.
So I put aside 1 week and I said, I'm going to do like 6 canvases of his.
Sure.
So I think that's sort of what I need to do, is sort of put put the time aside and say, okay, this week is going to be more Gub canvases. This week's going to be more of, Dave Klug canvases.
Yeah.
So,
And you still have some Lauren Bloch in your brain? I was going to say, you still have some Lauren Bloch canvases in your brain?
Yeah. I am constantly, I think I have over like 30,000 pictures on my camera, because I will take pictures. I'm like, oh man, this could be, let me think what I can do with this and how I can change it and what I can, and it's just, it's never ending. So
well, I hope that Veronica actually is able to watch this, but I would love a message to get to her that I always feel like when I'm stitching, I'm thinking a lot, if I'm not thinking or stitching with somebody else. And I think that you end up sort of meditating on things. And so I hope that so now that people know the story behind the Gub canvases, they'll think about, a young woman setting out on her collegiate career and, try to think about the fact that not only are they enjoying the stitching, but they're also doing something to help someone else.
Yes, they are.
I just think that's sort of a special thing about needlepoint, is that it's not just about the design. It's not just about the stitches. It's a lot about kind of the thought behind it and what all goes into it. So I think it's awfully special that you're able to do that. The question that is still burning in my mind that I haven't, 2 questions actually, that I haven't had a chance to ask you. Number one, you do stitch yourself? You are a stitcher, and to begin stitching.
So I began so my kids were in elementary school, and I had a couple friends, we would meet up at the soccer field or the basketball court or at the swimming pool watching the sports, and they would be stitching, and I'd be leaning over and like, what you doing?
Sure.
And my mom was a high school art teacher. So she has obviously creativity, she instilled that in me, and the love for art. And she taught me how to cross stitch.
Okay.
So, but I hadn't done cross stitch since I was in my teens. So when I saw these great works of art that these people were creating, I thought, maybe I do, maybe this is something that I would really love to do as a hobby.
Sure.
So, I went up to the Beehive and sat down with one of the owners, Jessica, and she taught me how to needlepoint, and I was hooked.
Well, first you learned that it was half the amount of work as the cross. That's what I always remind people. I'm like, you're working way too hard here. Well, good. And so then you had a solid, I'm not probably doing the math very well, but like 8-ish to 10 years of stitching and just being before you really kind of dove into this business.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's kind of nice. And go ahead.
I couldn't get enough of stitching. I mean, we know raising kids, great, but you need that downtime. And this was my me time. At the end of the day, I would go plop down on my family room couch and stitch away. And it would just bring the blood pressure down. It would just sort of relax me. It was meditative. And it was my own time and my own chance to be creative.
Are you sort of a purist needle pointer, a tent stitch basket weaver, or are you I want to do all the different kinds of stitches kind of stitcher?
It depends on my mood.
The piece.
I mean, yes.
Oh, in your mood. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Really. Yeah, it depends on both. Sometimes I just definitely want to do basket weave. It's simple. I don't have to think. I don't have to compensate. Other times I want the challenge of using stitches or fibers. Well,
and the reason I kind of was curious is because so Melissa and I talk about Kelly Clark as one of our needlepoint heroes, and she claims that she does not paint for stitches, but we're convinced that there's some kind of weird like interaction in her brain where she's just like painting and stitching at the same time in her brain, because some of her painting just really lends itself to great stitches. So do you find yourself when you're creating a design thinking about, oh, this would be a great thread or a great stitch, or do you just kind of design just for fun?
No, definitely. I'm thinking along those terms. In fact, one of the Gub canvases called Four Blue Trees. It has a border to it. And so I tried to pick up a lot of multiples of 4 throughout that canvas.
Okay.
And so when you take that border, you can do little stitches, for the box, what is that, Scotch stitch or the box?
Or yeah, Scotch or mosaic. I always mix them up, but you're going over
Scotch.
to
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can do that along that border in 4.
Gotcha.
And so sometimes I definitely am thinking about it, but with some of my plaids, here I've got a couple, I think it would be really hard, for example, to do any sort of stitch and something like that.
That's really a basic.
This is basket weave, and sometimes it just, I need that.
Yeah. And what we always say, there's nothing wrong with the basic stitch. That's what got us all to the next level. But also so many threads now. There's and there's shiny threads and there's fuzzy threads and so you can really do so much even with the basic stitch and using kind of fancy threads. So you have needlepoint in your back pocket. You actually know how to stitch, because believe it or not, there are some designers who do not stitch.
I was really surprised that Raymond Crawford
is not a stitcher. Isn't that funny?
Boy, is he a great designer.
Oh my gosh, amazing. But do you have an art background aside from your mother being an art teacher? Did you get any education in art, or do you have?
So I minored in studio art.
Okay.
At the College of William and Mary.
Okay.
So, I majored in marketing.
Well, there you go. The perfect setup for what you're doing now, right?
And I always loved art, and I haven't done it for so many years, except for this painting that I've done on needlepoint canvas. So, I didn't know about needlepoint back in art school. Like, I sort of wish that I had,
right?
Because boy, wouldn't that have been great to start and do this type of business immediately after school.
Well, it also begs the question, and this would be an interesting podcast too, I guess. I'm creating fodder for myself, but there are so many fledgling or people that are wanting to learn how to paint or trying to figure it out. It would be interesting to see if there would be any university level painting on canvas types of classes emerging and things like that. That would be kind of a neat way to even grow this industry even more. But you're right. I mean, unless you talk to a friend or, someone that has figured it out, or just a whole lot of trial and error, it's hard to kind of figure the consistency and the right type of paint and
absolutely
all the things. So, so when you were in studio,
I have an example of my very first piece that I did for myself.
Okay.
So, and I actually, what's sort of interesting is that I did this with permanent marker on canvas, which is a big, it's not really the way you should paint a canvas.
It's but not sustainable necessarily, but right. It got you where you wanted to be. So there you go.
Yes. And so what I love, the Beehive came up with this idea where they, so this is I didn't do this. This is a brick cover.
Yes.
So this is, and I wish I knew who the designer was.
It looks like a Lee canvas. I'm going to have to,
could be.
That now, this is going to be out there,
Love this canvas. And then what they do is they make this into a purse. So you see it's got the little tab.
I love that.
Interior. But you need, of course, because this was originally a brick cover, you need a front. And so I went with this, the mythical dragon, and I added the pearl, and I'm hoping, I looked up on Google.
You hope that it says what you want.
It should say Bloch, but
funny.
But I have no idea. I mean, I'm hoping that this is what that says, is my last name. and that I'm not, saying a cuss word to someone.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Well, if there's
yeah,
anybody out there who can read, I don't know, would that be Japanese script or I'm so bad.
I don't know if it's some sort of, Chinese characters, I guess, of some
So
sort.
bad.
So, yeah.
I should know, but I have no idea. But yes, that's neat. I love that design. How cool. That was the first thing that you kind of
Painted for me.
For yourself? Okay.
Yes.
Like over
Yes.
And that's interesting too. Something that has come up in the podcast before where we say like, people are taking your design and they're adding their own flair. Like, are you good with that? And that's exactly what you did, is picked up someone else's design and just kind of added a bit to it, which made it so interesting.
Right.
So,
right. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, so I have just a couple other questions for you, if you don't mind. So we, first of all, I should say, have I covered everything? Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to share with us?
Well, I just want to do a little shout out also to the other needlepoint stores in Pittsburgh. So
Yes.
if anyone comes to Pittsburgh, not only is it an awesome city with so many cultural activities and great sports and a great downtown and just a beautiful with the three rivers. I love Pittsburgh, but we have 3 fabulous stores. So of course the South Hills, Beehive. Then there's also on the east, sort of the east side of the city is Needlepoint Breeze. They're located in Point Breeze. And then there is Porcupine, and they are in Swickley, which is north of the city. So I just sort of wanted to put that out there. If you're ever in the Pittsburgh area, please stop by all the stores because they each offer a little something different and are wonderful, have wonderful store owners. And, I think you'll be happy.
Yeah, what's interesting, this episode is probably going to drop right around the time when we're looking at local needlepoint shop day.
Oh, yes,
good. Kind of I don't know how to call it, a Hallmark holiday. In other words, it's been made up by us. There are people in the industry working really hard to get that kind of just the notoriety out there and the importance of supporting local and shopping local and all. And I think you make a really good point that, my shop has a way different vibe than someone else's shop. And I stock different things and I have different threads and we have different finishers who specialize in different things. And so I do think it is very important to try to visit other shops and to experience other things in different cities. And so that's one of the things I would love to do one of these days. I've been to, I don't know, 3 or 4 now, but not as many as I want to go to. I just don't have time. But I really appreciate you bringing that up because it's LNS, your local LNS, local needlepoint shop is really the backbone of this industry because we're out there working hard to try to get all the information out about designers and threads and so thanks for bringing that up. That's great. Sure. I appreciate that.
And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is I wanted to explain my little logo, which I think is funny.
Oh, the little, okay.
It's a little, I don't know if you can see.
It's like, is it a smiley face?
So it's a smiley face with obviously the LB for Lauren Bloch. Yes. But the smiley face, our family last name is Bloch, but it's spelled B-L-O-C-H.
Yes.
And so we, for fun, our family text message is for blockheads. So, and our email has blockheads in it. So we sort of refer to ourselves as the blockheads.
That's awesome.
So, I was thinking, I'm going to do a little blockhead, a little smiley face. And I just also wanted to, I want my canvases to bring a smile to your face. So that's how I got the little square smiley face idea to go along with my LB. So I
love that. That's so cute. You know what it kind of looks like to me? My kids have been watching the Lego show. The Legos are like blocks, anyway, that's kind of what that makes me think of just because of the time I'm in. But I'll tell you, when I bought the Needlepoint Clubhouse at the time, my kids were watching the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. So every time I saw the logo, I would think of that song that starts the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go. So, it's all about the context that you're living in. So that's what I
definitely
I see the Clubhouse, but I love that you make that a family kind of roundup, because it is also important for people who own small businesses like you to have all that family support, because we're all grinding, so I'm sure that you felt the support of your family around you, especially working from home.
My son came up with the logo.
Love that.
My daughter did my website. I have to maintain it, but she did it. And my husband, on a daily basis, I'm always like holding up a canvas. I'm like, what about this? What do you think? And he'll give me some ideas. Like he is, an enormous support, and I really appreciate all of them.
Have you had the chance to teach him how to needlepoint yet?
So I tried teaching both of my kids when they were younger, and it just didn't. I really remember trying to teach my son when he was ill. He had this day. I didn't want him to be on the computer all day, and so he's sick. He's sick, and I'm trying to teach him needlepoint. I don't know why it didn't stick, but
I'm working on my kids. My husband's like, no, not interested. Like, come on, real men stitch, but anyway. So I want to kind of end our conversation with something that I used to do more, and I don't know how I forgot about it, but it was kind of my favorite way to end these conversations. Your favorite canvas, your least favorite canvas, your best seller, and your worst seller. So you can't dog out either and say, oh, they're all my favorites. What's your favorite design that you have in your line right now?
I would have to say probably the American short hair Gothic right now.
Yes.
I can't wait to stitch it. It really, I think that's probably my favorite. I think my second favorite would probably be the Christmas delivery truck.
So I've never really inserted myself, but I guess I'm egotistical enough to do it. One of my favorites is your little box, the Tooth Fairy boxes.
Yeah.
I love those. I love those. Maybe it's because I'm a mother of 2 children with no time to get anything done. And I thought, oh, great idea. Your kid's about to lose a tooth. You just stitch the little tooth. I love that. It's so clever, so simple.
I am one of those stitchers that, I'm all here, the holidays come along and I'm like, oh, I need to stitch stuff for people.
Yes.
And so many of my designs are made for self-finishing, either in the Sudbury mini boxes, Planet Earth accessories, self-finishing accessories, Colonial Needles, self-finishing, so you can, stitch them watching a couple movies or something.
Same.
Put them together, and then you've got a gift. So
love it. I hope you have some other little designs up your sleeve for those mini boxes, because I love them.
Good.
I'm just going to talk about myself again, because why not? My daughter wears hearing aids, and when she was little, she would just be setting them around the house. Now they have a charger and they're all fancy and whatever. But I used one of those little boxes, and she would put her hearing aids in them. And so now, though, she just has this little box to put trinkets in. And so even if it has a on the top, you can very easily either like just pop it out and put something else new in, and it'll take you like what?
Yeah, I mean, that truly is maybe a movie. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's 2x2, so it's and then, right. Same thing, like the little hearts. Oops. Let's see if we.
The light is, but yeah.
Okay.
So it's a little heart.
It's sort of, colorful hearts. They come in all different colorways. And, I just sort of figured, wouldn't this be cute to put like a little necklace or a ring? These are sort of have the Tiffany colors. So who knows, maybe an engagement ring could go into this.
My son has like the rock that he found on the playground for the minute. That's like his fancy rock or whatever that he cares about at the moment. It would be so fun just to have that little box and be like, here's your trinket box,
Absolutely.
Awesome. Love that. I just love it. That little box is just darling to me, that Sudbury box. So, so anyway, I'm so sorry because I completely hijacked that conversation. So your favorite design, back to it, is the special delivery and the American, what are they called?
The American short hair Gothic.
Got it. So those are your favorites. Do you have a least favorite, like one that you're just kind of like, I'm not really happy with the way that one turned out? Or do you just wouldn't put them out there?
Well, so there's, a couple of my designs were started because they were a custom design, and then I would modify it slightly and put it into my line.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and I'm finding that some of those designs may not necessarily be my favorites
Sure.
anymore. You know, at one time, maybe they were, but they aren't now.
You're
So
just like your stash. Like sometimes you look back and you're like, why did I buy that? But
right.
at the moment, you thought it was the best thing ever. Yeah.
Right.
So what about your bestseller?
So I would probably say the Choose Happy is my bestseller.
Thank you, Melissa McLeod, right? And the 50 people.
Definitely. Definitely.
I remember talking to her and she's like, more people want to do it, more people. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how are you going to get all these canvases? threads during a pandemic. So
yes.
It is a wonderful design. And I think it's neat that you've parlayed that then into those other two designs, the little different colors, and those are wonderful. So what about your worst seller? What are you just like, gosh, I love this design and nobody's buying it?
So I don't know if it's fair to put this out here yet because it hasn't even really come to Canvas, but I have put it on social media.
Okay.
And so this one, it's going to be, the design is for a mini box.
Sure.
So this would be the bottom. You've got your sides, the front, and then the back. And I went sort of the graffiti look.
That's what I was just going to say, like an American graffiti. I love that.
Yeah, so
I live by a train track and I watch all that. And I always think, we're so impressive on the sides of those trains. How do they do that? But that does look like a Graffiti USA. That's very cool.
I haven't gotten, but just a few pre-orders for this.
What do you picture in the box? Do you have like when it's put together, it's like a mini box, like it could be.
And of course, you do the little straps.
Sure. Sure.
But I don't know. I think it was really, for me, I just envisioned it on a tree.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd like to do the other holidays as well. Gotcha. So you can have a whole little collection of, bags, mini bags, for your tree.
Love that. So cute. Well, hopefully people will get the graffiti idea now and
yeah, right.
Well, I don't know. I think that it's very hip. So good for you. Well, good luck with that one. So, yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny? I do the same thing as a shop owner. I buy things and I'm like, that is awesome. Why has that been sitting here for a while? And then the right person comes along and says, I love that. This reminds me of whatever. And you're like, that's it. That's why I needed that. So you just never know. So,
right.
This has been a real pleasure talking to you, Lauren. And I'm just so impressed that you've only been doing this for, is it a year about?
A little over a year and a half.
It's amazing how far this has gotten you, and as far as like the branches of the different Canvas line, Gub and the David Klug and also, or Dave Klug. It's just very impressive. So bravo, nice work. So I think that wraps it up. I don't think I have anything else to say, believe it or not, because I have something to say.
Well, thank you very much for this time, Megan. I truly appreciate it. And it was great to chat with you. And thanks.
It's really been my pleasure. Thank you for your time. And for those of you who have just joined us for the first time, you've obviously learned a lot about Lauren. And if you want to continue to find out what we're talking about here on the podcast, there's a little subscribe button. We would appreciate if you'd hit subscribe so that we can continue to get the word out to other stitchers and continue to find more awesome people like Lauren to interview. So have a great day and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.